Hi there, welcome to Mom Talk. My name is Madison Harris, and I will be your host to talk about all things gruesome and gritty of motherhood. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, sometimes you're elbow deep in baby shit. And guess what? I'm here to get you through it. This first episode is going to be a doozy. I'm going to be telling my birth story that happened 8 months ago when little Miss Autumn was born. It was an extremely traumatic time, and now that I've moved past it, I thought I would share it with other mothers, so hopefully no one has to experience what I went through, or if you do, you at least know how to act accordingly. All in all, when it comes to your health, always trust your gut. My husband and I go to my very last OB appointment where my OB clears me and says everything looks good. She thinks my daughter's going to come on her own. However, I explained to her that I really didn't want my daughter to stay in over 40 weeks. I've done a lot of research, and to me, I just wasn't comfortable with that. So she decided that night they'll send me straight to the hospital around 9 p.m. and start me on Pitocin to get my labor started. It was very clear that my daughter was not going to come on her own. She was going to stay in the womb for as long as God would physically let her. She did not want to leave. So we get to the hospital at 9 p.m. and they start my Pitocin. I'm not progressing a whole lot over the next few hours, not as much as they really want me to. They really wanted my water to break on its own, however, that didn't happen. So they decided that I was going to get an epidural, and then they were going to break my water immediately after that, and we would go from there. They actually kicked my husband out of the room for my epidural, which was horrifying. So it was just me, the nurse, and the guy that was doing my epidural. I cannot pronounce their technical name, and I don't feel like being made fun of. The guy was only talking about hunting and fishing this past weekend he had done with his grandkids to the nurse in front of me. She was explaining, I'm going to lean forward, try not to move, just hold on tight, and he's going to do his thing. The entire time he was doing his thing, he was talking about this hunting and fishing trip that he had with his grandkids. And so he tries the first time and he hits a vein and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to try again." And so he goes again. Meanwhile, he's still talking about this hunting and fishing trip he took with his grandkids the entire time. My epidural is over, the pain is over, they allow my husband to come back into the room, and my OB breaks my water at 8 a.m. From 8 a.m. to about 4:30 p.m., I labored, just laid there, kind of in pain, rolling from side to side, ready to get this kid out of me. And then at 4:30 p.m., my OB showed up and she said it's time to push. She actually went and worked a shift at her office from 8 a.m. to 4:30, and as soon as she was done, she clocked out and came to deliver my baby. She starts explaining to me how we're gonna push, what this is gonna look like. She tells my grandmother and my husband how they can help me while I'm pushing, all sorts of things, and we start pushing. I pushed for about an hour and a half, and then Autumn was born at 6:01 p.m. She is healthy, she is beautiful, she had a little bit of a cone head whenever she was born. It went away very shortly after, but it was so funny. The next 2 days we spent in the hospital, and everything is going good. I'm recovering well. I'm actually up moving around, cleaning and doing things in the hospital room. I only had 2 stitches, so I wasn't in a whole lot of pain considering what could have been. The day that we are getting discharged, I start experiencing pain in my neck. It's like in my neck, my lower neck, and the top part where it's like connecting to my head, if that makes sense. And I think it's just a strain. I did just push out a 7-pound baby. I pushed for an hour and a half. Obviously, it's a muscle strain. I've also never given birth before, so I just thought maybe this was normal and this happens to everyone after they give birth. I lived with this pain for about 2 weeks before it becomes absolutely unbearable. I could no longer see as well. I had severe double vision. Like, I had to cover one eye completely to be able to see anything, and I could hardly see my phone right in, like, if I had it in my face, I could barely read it. That's how bad my vision was. So, I had horrible vision, and I had really bad neck pain. But it wasn't just neck pain anymore. It became a pressure building inside of my head. Every time I stood up, it felt like my head was going to explode. Like, it felt like pressure was just building and building and building. Kind of like You're at the bottom of a very deep pool, and instead of coming up to relieve that pressure, you just stay there and it just continues to build. I truly thought that my vision was from me being so exhausted. After all, it's been 2 weeks. I just had a newborn. I'm up every hour feeding, I'm pumping, changing diapers, whatever. I excused it until I physically could not anymore. The pain became so unbearable that Austin woke up one night to both Autumn and I scream crying because she needed something and I couldn't get up because I was in so much pain. We decided, okay, it's time. I have to go to an ER. Something isn't right. It's not getting better. It's been 2 weeks. I cannot physically care for my child. Something is wrong with me. So we go back to the hospital, the same one that I gave birth at, which is about 45 minutes away, and I'm diagnosed with a muscle strain in my neck. The doctor prescribes me a muscle relaxer. I take it, and they monitor me, make sure I don't have a reaction, and then they send me home. I got absolutely no, and I mean no, like it did not help me feel better at all. I received no relief from that muscle relaxer. And I knew that if I didn't get relief from a muscle relaxer, that something was probably seriously wrong. I decided maybe I need a few more days. I ended up going to get a massage, hoping that if it was a strain, that would help. It gets worse. I didn't think it could get worse, but it continued to get worse. And I knew that this was not a strain. There's no physical possible way that it was a strain. So, me being me, I Google everything, and I was like, well, it's not postpartum preeclampsia because I have no blood pressure issues. My only thing is the seeing. And the biggest part of postpartum preeclampsia or preeclampsia at all is blood pressure. And so I saw a spinal leak and I was like, okay, that's kind of the description of the headache I'm having. So maybe I got a spinal leak from my epidural. We end up going back to the ER. It was late at night, and if you've ever been to the ER at night, you know everyone and their mother, cousin, brother, they're there. The wait was about 5 hours, and there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to sit for 5 hours in a waiting room with the amount of pain I was in. We return home and decide we'll go back again in the morning. We get up, we go the next morning, we're seen almost immediately. It was great. I get taken back, I explain, I've already been here for this is what I think is going on, I'm pretty sure that I have a spinal leak. I explained my vision symptoms and my neck pain, the headache, everything. The doctor decides they're going to send me for a CT scan, see what's going on, maybe they can see better what's inside my brain, and they take me for my scan, and within an hour I have my results. Austin and my daughter were both with me. This was 2 months after we had had her. We didn't really have someone to just take her to so they could watch her while I went back to the ER, so she had to come with us. They went out to the truck and he was feeding her when the doctor came back in to give me my results. Her first words were, "Try not to freak out." A doctor telling me try not to freak out was probably one of the worst things they could have said. Like, I immediately did the exact opposite, and as soon as she explained my diagnosis, I cried even harder. She said that I had what's called a pituitary adenoma, which is a tumor on my pituitary gland, which is at the base of your skull. She said it's benign, however, it's currently really swollen, and they're going to have to air flight, or life flight, whatever it's called, to UK immediately. I start, excuse my language, shitting bricks, freaking out. I didn't know what to do. I call Austin, he hurries back in as fast as he can with Autumn, and it's just a mess. They say that he's gonna have to drive there, he can't ride with me in the helicopter, so Austin was gonna have to meet his mom, drop our daughter off, and then drive all the way to Lexington. It was gonna be a 20-minute drive, or ride in the helicopter, yeah, and then a 2.5-hour drive in the truck. So Austin was like, well, we need to know what's going on. Do I need to go ahead and leave? Like, he didn't want me to be at UK for a very long time without him. The doctor says, no, it's fine. We'll be back in a minute and we'll discuss everything. 3 hours go by and Austin's like, okay, I need to know what's going on. I need to go ahead and leave. Like, he thought I should have already left. So he talks to the doctor and he said, hey, like, we just need to know what's going on. We've been here for 3 hours. We were told she's getting life flighted, and now we're just sitting here. Like, can someone give us some information? She said that apparently there was snow and sleet in the sky, so they weren't able to fly, and that they didn't have an ambulance, nor did any single hospital within a 20-mile radius have an ambulance that could transport me to UK. So, what do? They told Austin that he had to drive me to UK, which he had asked in the beginning 3 hours before if he could just drive me there, because nobody wants to pay $20,000+ to be life flighted to another hospital. And they said, no, it's not safe. However, now they're telling him he has to drive me to UK because they have no other way for me to get there. But I have to leave this hospital and go straight to UK. I can't go anywhere else. So we leave, we drop our daughter with his mom, and we head straight to Lexington. I have never been to this hospital. I've never been in the ER at this hospital. I didn't know where to go, what to do. I couldn't see either. There were so many bright lights. It's like 9 o'clock at night. I don't know what's going on. I finally get in, I'm registered, and I wait on my husband so that we can go back to the back. I'm laid in a bed amongst several other humans, and I mean quite a few, several. The beds were filled with people coughing and wheezing and hacking, and there were so many people that were sick surrounding me that I no longer felt like I was a priority. Like, I felt like I was just told I had to be life flighted for something I thought that was so serious, and now I'm laid amongst all of these people, and we're all equals. We're all waiting to be seen, to be helped, to be taken care of. I'm laying in my bed. Austin's in a very cheap, poor plastic chair at the edge of the bed, just sitting there. We're waiting, hoping for some kind of answer, not knowing what's going on. There's so many people passing by. It was quite a scary experience for someone who had never experienced anything like that. Some nurse came up and put magnesium into my IV. She didn't tell me that it was magnesium. She just kind of put it into my IV and walked away. And my arm started burning extremely badly. Like, I was crying and freaking out and begging Austin to grab any nurse, anybody, and ask them to help me. And so he did. The first nurse that came right after, he grabbed her and he said, I don't know what's going on. Something's going on with my wife. She's reacting, whatever. She says, oh, that's just magnesium. She probably put the drip on too fast, or whatever. Let me go grab her and we'll turn it down. Okay, cool. So I finally found out what they put in my IV, but I still to this day have no clue why they gave me magnesium. Besides the point, she comes and lowers it. All is good and dandy. My husband actually goes to the truck to try and get some rest because it's so uncomfortable in that plastic chair. Like, there's no way he could lay and get comfortable to sleep. It's about 12 o'clock at this point, and I still don't have a room. So he goes to the truck, and I'm pulled for an eye exam. They check my eyes to see why I can't see. They think it's like a vision problem, which now we know that's not the case. And then I'm pulled for 2 MRIs, one of my upper back and one of my lower back. Around 4 a.m., I'm finally into a room. I text Austin, he comes in, and we're literally cuddled together on this tiny hospital bed, snuggling and finally getting some form of rest for the night. We're awoken really early the next morning. A guy comes in and he explains that I'm going to have a blood patch to repair the spinal leak that was caused by my epidural. If you don't know what a blood patch is, it's essentially an epidural, but instead of anesthesia, they use your own blood. They use your own blood to repair a spinal leak, which I thought was insane. So I hadn't eaten for about 17 hours or drank anything because apparently it can interfere with MRIs, and they didn't know what was going to happen with the blood patch or what we were doing yet, so they just didn't really let me have anything except a few sips of water. And whenever they went to pull the blood for my blood patch, all of my veins kept collapsing because I was so dehydrated. I had 4 access or entry points where they tried on my arm, and they were all bruised up. They were unsuccessful. They had to actually do my other arm, I think, before they were able to get a successful blood pull. While they were pulling my blood, they were also getting the needle ready, and it was in my back for the blood patch. Well, I almost passed out because it took them so long to get the blood out of my arm because they had pricked me. I swear, I don't even know if it was 4, like, I feel like it was 5 or 6 in one arm, and then they finally got the blood out of the other. Well, I almost passed out, so they took the needle out and they had to restart all over again. They put the needle back in, they were able to run the successful blood patch the second time, and I instantly feel relief. I laid there, I looked from side to side, I picked my head up just a little bit, and knowing that I didn't have pain or pressure doing that, I was so hopeful. I had already started to feel so much better, like it was like a drop of a hat, and everything just changed. I felt like myself again, or at least I was starting to get there. And the guy discharges us maybe a few hours after. They had to supervise me for a little bit to make sure I was okay, and then they sent me home. All is fine and dandy. I take it pretty easy for the next 2 to 3 days, and then my pain returns, and I'm at a loss. I thought that the blood patch fixed everything, that I felt better, that I was going to be okay, and I thought it had maybe failed. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why I was still in pain. All I knew is I couldn't take it. Like, I physically could not take it anymore. The pressure inside my head was so intense that I thought it was going to implode. I literally thought my head was going to implode. My husband and I decided that we're going to go to my hometown and we're going to go see doctors that I know and trust that listen to me and hear me out and actually fix the issue, because clearly it hasn't been fixed from whatever we've done already. So we go home, and we're home for maybe 2 hours. And my grandmother says, "Why don't you try to stop breastfeeding?" I really was so reluctant because I had wanted nothing more but to breastfeed my daughter. Just, I knew all the good qualities that it could give her, the antibiotic, everything. And I really didn't want to do formula. So I gave it a shot, of course, and within 3 days, all of my pain was gone. And a week later, my vision returned. I felt like a brand new person, like I was me again. I could finally be the mother I wanted to be to my daughter, and it felt so good. It had taken almost a little over a month for me to be able to care for my daughter, so I don't really even remember her first month on this earth, unfortunately. Thankfully, I have so many pictures that I'm able to relive, but I just wish I was there in that moment and, able to relive those memories with my husband. Well, I have nothing left to yap about. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll see you next time. Bye!